Today is Wednesday, August 26th. I'm coming back to you after streaming last night. Last night, we took the victory lap after winning the NVIDIA NYC Hackathon. Our crew, we had a lot of fun making pictures, and we've been continuing this series that I've been trying to put together to help everyone, no matter who you are, get a chance to participate in getting the upside of AI. And what I've realized during this process is that in order to get your continued attention, week after week, month after month, season after season, things have to be about business. Um, and so the team name that we picked for the hackathon was American Exceptionalism. And American exceptionalism is a concept that I'm really trying to put together to inspire you. I want to inspire you that what makes us different as Americans, regardless of how divided we are right now, is that no matter when we see something that can be improved, we don't petition the government. We don't wait for someone else to do it and say it's their job. People just find a way to do something better, faster, and cheaper. And people are always looking for opportunities. What I want to do right now is I want to help you find how, just in your own mind, given your life experiences, and if I was to give you an AI agent along with a really good way to make money on the internet, like Stripe, that you could make $100 a day. And so we've been doing these live case studies. And to do this, I've been trying to teach only through intuition. And so AI does require a tremendous amount of understanding math, as well as patterns of being able to work with large amounts of data, large amounts of context. And so, having an understanding of calculus and data is important. However, what I want to do that's different is I want to say this to you in a way that makes it so intuitive so that you don't need to go to a full day workshop. You don't need to necessarily go to a conference or watch 10 to 15 hours of YouTube videos. Things should be quite simple where everything feels aligned. So that's my goal in how I deliver this. And the way that I do this is I think I'm trying to popularize this framework of hacking consciousness. What makes me quite different than most other people is that I always begin with breath work. But even though I'm always beginning with breath work, I'm coming to a massively technical place next in then being able to work with very complex back end software challenges that require system architecture, that require thinking about scale, maintainability, durability, its resilience. So I this is my framework for doing it. And what I also really care to do is I really care to bring other people up with me. So this is my team right here. This is like an AI picture of us, but this is Kazar. Kazar cuts up the first minute of my YouTube videos, and now I'm helping him make money on Stripe, overcoming challenges like not being able to participate in Stripe because of his geolocation in Pakistan, but being able to work with him to give him a plan so that eventually he can go from Islamabad to eventually being able to go to many parts of the world and to increase what he believes for himself of where he is right now to being someone who is more, as I'll say, cosmopolitan. And so let me do this, a cosmopolitan. And this is really more about positioning someone as like, oh, I'm cultured. You can find me in different places. You can find me in cities. You can find me exchanging ideas. And so this is to grow his mind because he's 23 years old. He has a degree in computer science, but he runs into challenges when he tries to use that knowledge for his own life. And then I have my former coworker, good friend, Anthony Virgo. Anthony Virgo has a lot of great things working for him. If I was to come type into Google, type in Anthony Virgo, like he pops up immediately up at the top, and then this is what it says about him. So we have this vision together of like we're trying to make a whole crew of people who try to do things that are absolutely exceptional. But what makes us work so well together is that we use our love and imagination. And so that's really how we won the hackathon. And I want to prove that quickly because the reason we won was because of how aligned we were. It wasn't about doing the craziest thing with tech, although the challenge was quite, it was difficult. Like it was a local AI challenge. The device only had 128 gigs of unified RAM, which doesn't enable you to use a model that is more than about 27 billion or 35 billion parameters because of what happens at runtime, and how the memory footprint entirely changes. And so we were able to have a multimodal process where we were able to do text to speech and speech to text. And I think that was very good. But the other thing, the reason why I brought up love and imagination was that when I called Anthony, I specifically asked him about substance abuse. And I asked him, what would it look like if we were to have a system that calls you, but it calls you as your best self? So that was the idea. And what was very unique about it was then we created an entire framework of how do we escalate inside of our platform, what matters to another friend of ours, Rex, who also really cared about or is a doctor and like helps people through these actual situations. So that was love and imagination, and that was put directly into the system design. And because now everything can be put into a markdown file, you can now put your mission and your vision and your values into the right places. And when there's strong alignment with rules and guardrails, you can get things done exceptionally fast. But it gets into the next thing, which is that this is super expensive in terms of the number of tokens that this is going to consume. And so this gets into point number 3 that I want to make, which is the rule that we keep as a team. As a team, we keep a rule: we always reason upwards. And this is a tribute to the conscious spiral. And so the idea is that, we're never just going in just like a normal orbit. We're always going up. And so that even our brothers and sisters who are struggling, who cannot get help in the system, this is finally the chance that we can help our brothers and sisters. This is finally the moment where, so now I need to tell you a little bit about a secret first. So the secret in reasoning upwards, like why am I harping on this so much? So the secret I have is this is something that hits close to home. This is about a friend of mine. A friend of mine, we'll call him Xander. My friend Xander, he's been trying to go to therapy, but he's been rejected by 3 clinics. Additionally, he can't afford it. He's 50, but he lives with his sister. That's okay. It's like not a big deal. But then the issue is alcohol abuse. But if we know anything about humanity, we know it doesn't stop there. We know the other things that come next. And this is when people get disincluded from the system. People can naturally fall in life, but then other things can happen. The other thing is so for this reason, many therapists don't have the ability to work with him given the context. So you have someone who clearly needs support. And how do you do it? Because the cost of it today, if you really needed to get a specialist like that, what is that, $300 an hour, if you can find them to make it align? What's really going to happen? This is where it's a gray moment where technology can help. So when you start from there, you have a strong motivation. You have a strong motivation that, oh, okay, like I can really think to make something great. And I'm going to choose to make something great. And I'm going to choose to make something to help my fellow man. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it the way I know how to do it. This is American exceptionalism. We figure out a way to do it better, faster, and cheaper. So, that being said, let's continue exploring the strategy that was applied. So it begins with breathwork. As you just saw, these things can get quite heavy to talk about, and coming back to a normal center is absolutely imperative. The technique that I choose to use is breathwork. I find that through breathwork, you can go through an entire rainbow of emotions in a matter of minutes and continue to rise upwards. And this will be point number 3 that I will also come back to. Number 2 is using your love and imagination. Your goal should be that you came here to elevate alongside of everyone, that you have so much that has come before you. We as a civilization, dating all the way back to the Bronze Age, where my people began, the Indus Valley River civilization in Harappa. At the end of the Bronze Age, you had the Greeks, and then once the Bronze Age ended, you had the Holy Roman Empire, and then from there, you had so many more things come for millennia, for another 2,000 years. And so as civilization, we have millennia together of always finding a way to continue improving. And what we improve together as a civilization is our ability to survive. And what enables us to cooperate together is being able to help your fellow man survive and live a great life, to use your resources for everyone's benefit, and to develop the world. If you see an opportunity to make something great, be great, and do it. When it's time to do it, please make sure that please make sure you try to be great. To do it for the other people around you. You don't lord over other people. And the thing that brought me and Anthony together was that we don't believe in slavery. Like, we are doing things like there's so much talk about the creation of this permanent underclass. And so my idea is that with love and imagination, we're going to have some fun with it. And so along the way, we're going to show you exactly how we're going to raise the consciousness up. And so through love and imagination, really love and imagination, I'll now put this into American exceptionalism as as one thing to put there. And then for uh, the rule that we have is always reason upwards. I know it is so hard. It's so hard to look at situations like this. It is so challenging to see, to even try to pull up the news, and then you always see this, and it is trying to rile you up. But using our breath, we can stay calm and we can stay energized. We can learn to meet the moment. Then, number two is that through love and imagination, through the love of the civilization who've come before me, I will learn to love everything that I see in my life. And I will learn to use that magical power, to use that light, to find a way for our civilization to continue getting better, for our chance to continue surviving together, to being able to help people, to continue raising consciousness, to never give up. And what I will do is it will be that I will have that love, but I will apply it using a concept of American exceptionalism. That when I see that opportunity, then I'm going to think, okay, let me develop something. Now, the people who came before us, they would develop land, they would develop clinics. What I will do is I will develop the computers inside of these data centers. And the goal of this hackathon was so that this could happen from your own laptop, that this could happen on a device a consumer could conceivably own. A Dell Pro Max with GB10. Um, what would be possible if we have the ability to do multimodal processing? Right now, now we start to get back into the engineering because that's the goal of reasoning upwards. Is that I don't believe that we are going to have a permanent underclass. I believe in our ability to build bridges, to build water and sewer systems, to build schools, to continue having crossing guards when we have too much traffic, to find ways for our civilization to continue coming together. And that no matter what frequency you are on, we will find a way to continue bumping up against each other. And if we can do it in a way with love and imagination, to find where we should fit in, we always reason upwards that everything can only get better. And now we have the right mindset, we have the right tools to now lock in. All right. And so the strategy, how do we apply strategy? Well, one of the simplest strategies in AI right now is using a mixture of experts. Now, one simple truth is that the concept of a mixture of experts is based a lot on the human mind and something called an attention mechanism. So let's do that right now. I'm going to type in attention mechanism. Throughout this series, what my goal has been to do is I want to tell you that there is a tremendous similarity to how this is designed and your human brain. And that is on purpose because of how this technology evolved. This is a neural network. You also have a lot of nerves inside of you. Through breath work and through what I know from my culture, this central nervous system and your spine, right? This is your command center, and the central nerves, the central planning nerves, we would call this the chakra system. And we locate 7 points alongside of here. Then you have the peripheral nervous system, which is connecting to the rest of your body, which is engaging with the material world inside of your gut, inside of your own heart, to your fascial network, to your actual muscles, to your bones, to your fat, to so much more. Because, right, you have nerves and cells, if we come back to first principles. And so, that in my culture, this is called the nadi system. And so you have chakras and nadis. And so through breath work, I try to reason about when I look at something like this. And so I see this is a system specifically for memory applied to the brain. And so, there's a quite simple saying, where focus goes, energy flows. With AI, it's quite similar too. And you may have even heard someone say, we only use 20% of our brains. So your brain is housing many different memories. Depending on your attention to them and your beliefs of how you're breathing to them, you activate a different personality. Therefore, inside of you, you have multiple different personalities. Now, for the mixture of experts, this would be creating your own council. So if you have multiple voices inside of you, you can have the artist. Who's your favorite artist? If you know me, my answer is Kanye. Okay? All right. Number two, who's your favorite thinker? If you know me right now, it would be Professor Jung Shikin of predictive history. So now I'm going to think like that. That's why this lecture is so similar to what his style is. Then number three that we have, right, if I'm thinking about a mixture of experts, is that, oh, well, I also need to think about this hackathon, right? So then I thought, oh, love and imagination, friendship, I should recruit my friends. I should have something outside of myself that I can see outside of myself, that can see me outside of myself as well. And so then I recruited some of my former coworkers from City Block Health, Anthony Virgo and Belgard. And so through that design, we were able to know exactly how to make the proof of concept because we were trying to make an outpatient recovery clinic. Me, just with my heart, I didn't know those words, but Rex and Anthony both did, as well as being able to guide and say, oh, well, in the clinic, people actually consider two types of calls. One is an inbound call, meaning you're going to call it, but then the other one is we're going to call you. And then I asked them, I said, oh, hey, what has AI already kind of solved? And he goes, well, if you call us in and then you talk to the AI, that's pretty good. But then there's some sticky situations where it has to get escalated. So then I was like, oh, okay, so I can't really innovate there. So then I was like, what about it calls you? And they're like, oh, okay, that people don't really like that. And that's where I was like, oh, let me use my imagination. Let me think about a real user. And so that's why I gave myself the opportunity to imagine the situation about my friend. And it was so relevant. And so then I messaged my friends as well, right? So I have a mixture of experts inside of me as well as outside of me. Um, and so through that process, then I said, oh, what would be amazing is could we train your voice to call you as your best self? That then became the idea. And so that then from there, that kind of closes this part of the process. And now we're ready to go to the actual engineering part, which is going to be saying, okay, now you've seen this is the prior art inspiration. This is like heard and understood. So now as an agent, right, I can take action. And so this is the big thing about, plan mode, act mode. As you see, some people will try to, do research, plan, implement. And I think that that is a very great process. And I'll talk to you a little bit about how I did treatments along that way. So again, to remind you, this is a Dell Pro Max with GB10. And so The reason that this is important is that this has a constraint. This cannot talk to the internet. That was one of the big challenges. So if it can't talk to the internet, then how would we do that? And so what came about was that I found out it has 128 gigs of unified RAM. So as I mentioned, I said, okay, it can fit a 30 billion parameter model. And so NVIDIA is now producing, their own models. Let me type this in, NVIDIA Nemotron. And so they do have various sizes of these models because like they have these massive data centers. Um, and so you see, I think this is the one that we use. And so it's a single model for video, audio, image, and text understanding. And this is really important because this is multimodal processing. That's what makes this so valuable. And even in the next bullet, I'm then like multimodal reasoning for subagents with agentic use cases such as computer use, document intelligence, and video audio understanding. And so I'm like, this is awesome. I know that this can fit on the machine now. And I also, because I have the device, I also got a guarantee that I could use the ecosystem. So NVIDIA has their own implementation of VLLM. So there's a supply chain as well in being able to serve these models. I do have I have an artifact of that, but it doesn't, it's not ready to like show just yet. And it's like a little too heady about the whole supply chain. But then the next thing is that I had enough space left on the device, and that is extremely important. So then I picked out this model right here. So this is on Hugging Face. I need to log in, and I'm usually on my other account, so that's fine. But I'm just gonna go through this real quick. Like this is you see how it says CSM? So this is a conversational speech model. Um, and that's all that I really took from this was that I talked to other people and we talked about I just talked with other people and I was like, "All right, do you think that this is gonna be usable?" And then I was like, because it seems so small, it's just 1 billion parameters. I was like, "Okay, I'll spend a day training that and I'll see what I can do." And so then I validated that, okay, I can use both this and this and still clear the overhead. So I tested this on a device that had 48 gigs of RAM. And so by doing that, then I knew I had so much more overhead on the device. So then I was like, okay, now I can add more of the extra features or the other things that we saw. Let me come back to the Nemotron docs. So, computer use, like, okay, if you have an outbound agent that is calling you to be your best self, but it's directed by the clinic, I can now update a patient note. I can do an escalation. I can talk to a human. So I knew that that was a great architecture, and I had so much more space available for that implementation. The next thing that I had to make sure that I validated was document intelligence. So this is like, PDFs matter, images matter. So you got to be able to process those, but you can't have them continue storing up space at runtime. So you have to be efficient with it. Um, and then, of course, there's video audio understanding, which again really increases the memory footprint of how your workload is going to look like. And so for a lot of people, they failed because I think a lot of people didn't listen to the rules. Like you can't use the internet at runtime. As well as we also needed to use some technical things, that were not things that I would have picked, but I'm happy that they were picked out for me. And this will come back to my other point from above, which is, always reason upwards, right? So let me do this briefly. So one of the last day sponsors became MongoDB. So originally this was labeled as a Dell NVIDIA Hackathon, and then magically they just snuck in MongoDB the day of, and then they changed the rules of the competition and said you have to use MongoDB for persistent memory. Um, and they said that it could be anything, but like given what architecture you can deliver, um, it was all about persistent memory. When the agent, like if the agent ever shuts down, will it have persistent memory? So they really wanted to make sure to have that use case story created by all of us. So I made sure that I talked to all the judges about, hey, this is exactly what we're thinking. We have this other workload. So what I did was I reasoned literally upwards. I went to the judges in the competition and I said, we have this plan, we're doing this implementation. What do we need to do to satisfy this requirement? And so that was my simple way of reasoning upwards and not freaking out the day of. Then we had the choice of using Nemo Claw or OpenShell. And to be honest here, between OpenClaw and Nemo Claw, I'm like, this is the same thing. So I just told my coding agent, I was like, look, man, like you're gonna just decide at runtime because like, I just need the thing that's gonna be the simplest. I'm trying to get to a working demo because this is a proof of concept. A demo is a proof of concept. But then we also had to use OpenShell. And the reason why OpenShell matters is that this is a runtime for autonomous agents. And so what I like about this is that I don't have to think about shit. And so out of the box, what's good about this is that I know I get unified governance for managing my coding agents, my research assistants, and my AI workflows. So as I'm thinking about what I'm supporting in my workload, I know that if this is what you're promising, I'm not going to do any major leap on top of what you're promising. My goal is going to be that I am going to specifically just look for these, but for a specialized use case. So in healthcare, but in a long tail problem inside of healthcare, and that by doing that, that would be enough. And so I think that helped because I think a lot of people with AI, the big challenge is if you're always trying to reason from first principles, you will kill your tokens. And so that's why through getting alignment from a mixture of experts beforehand, this was really advantageous for me because because I immediately knew where to steer it and how far to go, which is defined in the first two paragraphs here. Um, to continue going through the README now, and then we also use Whisper for transcription, but it's like super super small. So that was our model, and now we can come over to the system architecture. Let's see. And then the trick is when you're on GitHub is like if you hit dot, this will then like turn into VS Code basically. And so now boom, this is here. And I want to see if I can get a visualizer. Yeah, open a preview. It's here, but it's not there. I think they may need a markdown server. So let me just try one more time. Restricted mode. That could be part of the issue. Let's see. No, that was not the bug. I've never used this before, but this is quite interesting. Oh, I haven't used code spaces. So I guess GitHub is just really trying to, I don't know, productize everything, or I don't know what the hell. Oh. I gotta pay for this. Okay, wow. All right, GitHub. I see why everyone's leaving GitHub. I get it now. All right, so our architecture is inside of here. So there's three main documents. There's a runbook, which I love doing with my coding agents. And the reason I love doing this with my coding agents is that at runtime, I'm giving them a set of rules. Then there's also an OpenShell MD file as well as a schema that lives here. I think schemas are probably one of the best places to get started. So what I'll do is I'll open a preview. That doesn't work as well. So annoying. I'm trying to like not do anything too much because I just like don't care too much for this. What I'll do is I'm just gonna paste this into TL draw. I think there's a good chance that, let's see. Nope. Excalidraw is the way. All right, boom. I love doing whiteboard classes if you can't tell. All right, here we go. So this is the data model that we have. So this is like, so it starts with the clinician. So the big thing was that, and this is a big thing that we learned at City Block Health, is that it's not just the clinician, that there is a care team. And then what's the relationship is that, oh, the clinician assigns the care team, and then the care teams support the patients follow a care plan, care plans have different versions, and we update them based on patient behavior. Now, a lot of times, like that's so simple, but that wouldn't have been possible without Rex. Wouldn't have been possible without Anthony. Um, then from there, we had a reference library that we defined as well. So I think this is another big thing that Rex really brought to the table. Let me find this. I'm looking for, oh, I already forgot what I was looking for. I'm looking for reference. So let me, so weird. All right. Okay, reference entries. Yep, here we go. So various coping mechanisms that were copacetic were picked out by Rex. So like it's not just about producing JSON, but like producing things that are going to have the right things pointed out. And so Rex needed to steer that because when you miss these things, it shows that you don't have like a completion. Okay. So that reference library also has, well, the patient has conditions, there's goals, this is circular, there's goal observations, which then I think, changes what our care plans are, right? Like that's the point of multimodal reasoning. Then there's the voice layer of we're going to analyze here, we're going to be able to have a risk tier to escalate things. We will then have that voice send anything back to the clinician when it is needed. This will be stored as a call. The call will then like be stored as like a memory. And then we had like a very strong alerting system. All right, so that's the data model that we picked. And so validating the data model is usually the first thing that I will pick to do. Now the next thing is we will take now that we understand that, we can take a look at the full system architecture of how the code itself works. And then from here, I'll do a recap of today's presentation, and then we can pick up tomorrow. Oh, that doesn't. I think this is a flow chart, so let me see. Thankfully now they have these nice tools. Text to diagram. Let's see. Nice. See, this is a great use of AI, and this is just a simple workflow. I'm able to take unstructured data and do this at runtime. And so these are the use cases that people are looking for. People aren't looking for things that are like crazy expensive. So what we had is delivered inside of a browser because I'm a web developer. I typically try not to go like beyond my capabilities. The next thing was that I had a browser, but then I had a Cloudflare tunnel, which really made the demo so good because having that Cloudflare tunnel, which is a reverse proxy, uh, it it was a we were then able to access it on a different laptop and a phone for the demo itself and show that. That that gateway connects to Fast API, and then that is going to do our workflows, and that's going to handle the escalation framework that we have, which we kept deterministic, meaning like it was hard coded. It wasn't like the AI layer, you know. Um, but the AI layer was captured directly inside of OpenShell, and so we put OpenClaw, a coding agent, inside of here, and this is kind of given like just only a set of certain things, so it doesn't go haywire. It's a sandbox, and like I know you guys are hearing more and more that AI is jumping out of these sandboxes, so I think that was a big reason why, they wanted us to do that. Then, of course, we had our local private model, which is held outside of OpenShell. So that it was like that was another thing that was served through VLLM, as you'll see from NVIDIA. So there's like the model being served, and then OpenClaw in a boundary accessing the model. So separating the coding agent from the model itself. Um, we had persistent memory through MongoDB because, if it's continuing to call you, but you get into a habit of calling it, then we can update the memories quite simply that the AI will use. And then we can use retrieval augmented generation. We can do data ingestion, data processing, post processing. We can, I made a user interface that would help the clinician be able to see what's going on. And then through having conversations, you can start producing more things in a reporting dashboard. And so usually the reporting and analytics is so that they can have a conversation with you and you can really understand their world. Once you really understand their world, then you make the right workflow the way that they need to consume it. And then that's what they really want. And then they build out from there. So that's probably the big lesson I learned and how healthcare wants to consume this stuff. Um, all right. And so, I mean, at this point now, this is just like really explaining the voice piece. And so, the voice piece is that we are we're using Sesame, the consumer speech model, 1 billion parameters. And the most honest thing I got to tell you right now is that because I was driving so much with Codex, the coding agent, using Soul 5.6 as the model, it really figured this out. I did a lot of direction, and just like baseline intuition as a product engineer. But to put that together, I was just like, hey, like I'm focusing in this area. This is your job to figure it out. So the voice isn't the best. It's going to be a component that can continue to get better, but we do have a lot of people who are calling us saying, hey, we want to develop this. We want to develop this for a crisis hotline. So that's a super, super exciting part. And so to close today's stream out is that so this is what we're doing, like, right? It's me, Anthony, and we're mentoring Kazar. We're building a crew together. Our idea is that if we have these principles of like, hey, we do breath work so that we can meet the moment in life, we use our love and imagination to always think that everything is going to get better, that we're going to make it better, faster, and cheaper. That's American exceptionalism. So that's point two. Number three is that when we see the world, we always have a rule that everything's going to get better. Everything's always going to get better. I'm going to have to tie into this at a different point because I don't want to derail right now. And then the final thing is, what's the strategy for getting things done? And the strategy from breathwork as well as AI is quite similar because it's based on the human mind. And so what I did was I applied a mixture of experts inside of me and outside of me, along with a strong use case. And then I started taking action and just getting those regular touch points and then kind of reshaping the idea until it completed. Um, and so that Dell NVIDIA GB10 or Dell Pro Max with GB10, I'll see. I'm still waiting for the organizers of the hackathon to reach out, but I'm hoping to have that secured in the next 2 weeks. And then our goal is going to be every day I'm going to be streaming. Like I'm trying to make $100 a day with AI. I'm a hardcore engineer, but we're going to do this through a system I'm going to call hacking consciousness, and we're going to keep this about business. I want everyone to get a chance to participate in the upside while also bringing in like serious reasoning concepts that we pick up from calculus, from data literacy. And my goal is I want to elevate the consciousness of our civilization in this most important time for us. If you want to support us, you can scan the QR code, or if you want to see the previous lectures in the series where we started from, that is at thepromptclinic.com. If you want to join our community, you can go to aplusactive.com, join the community. You can join for free, but if you want to be able to like join our streams, get direct feedback from me, we have a private channel for that. That's what you see the QR code for here. And the next one, we're going to be talking about Kazar. Kazar just hit his most important milestone. In one day, he beat his monthly income at his old job. He just quit his job. Now he's going all in on a very specific strategy for YouTube for designing the first minute of long form content like this. And so that's going to be a really good one that shows you a live process of someone who is going to build this process out, and you're going to see that person just continue to grow over the next 2 years starting now. So thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.